Welcome back to Objective 4 in the 3A1 series. In this objective, we'll explain the principles of corrosion inhibitor mechanisms, including adsorbed films, passivation, cathodic precipitates, and neutralisation. So to start off with, corrosion inhibitors that we inject into our vessels or our piping, only a very small amount is required. And the textbook says that this is determined by trial and error. There is also some science to it, as a corrosion consultant or a water consultant is going to be the one making the determination of what the injection rate is going to be. And then as an operator, we just ensure that when we do our drawdowns, the injection rates are on spec. Now, the way in which these corrosion inhibitors can work, as stated on the previous slide, are by either adsorption, passivation, cathodic precipitation, or neutralisation. So let's just take a quick look at each one of these and what it means. So to start off with, an adsorbed film. Now, what does adsorbed mean? Adsorbed is when a layer is deposited onto a surface. Now please don't mix up adsorbed with absorb. Absorb is like a sponge when it absorbs it internally. So i.e. a sponge takes the water inside of it and holds onto it. Adsorption is where only the solution or the water, for example, would be deposited onto the surface of the solution, not inside of it. So that's the difference between adsorption and absorption. Now, the adsorbed film is basically a film that is deposited onto our metal surface, and it forms a very strong bond to the metal. So in other words, it's hard to remove, and that's a good thing because it's designed to protect against corrosion. The classic example of doing this is with a filming amine, as this amine is going to bond to our metal and then prevent corrosion. And of course, this will be over a continuous injection, so the corrosivity of the water will strip away the amine, but because we are continuously injecting it, it's constantly being regenerated. So that's a classic one there for that sort of reaction. The next one is a passivating layer, and we've mentioned these before. Passivating inhibitors are basically something that's going to promote and create a protective oxide film to be placed upon the surface. Now, these ones are a little bit of a contradiction in terms, because a passivating inhibitor actually causes the metal to corrode, but it only corrodes by a certain amount, just enough to create this protective oxide film, like magnetite, for example. Once that protective oxide film has been created, then no further corrosion is going to take place. Passivating layers are cathodic, and the base metal then becomes anodic, which basically means that if our passivating layer is now damaged or scratched or removed, the anodic base metal layer is now going to corrode to replace the passivating layer. Now, unfortunately, chlorides and sulfates can interfere with this passivation process. So in areas where passivation is required and we have chlorides and sulfates, we have to inject higher inhibitor doses in those examples. And a classic example of a passivating chemical is a chelant or a chelating agent. You probably are familiar with those already, and if not, we'll talk about them again when we get to 3B1. Okay, the next one to quickly mention are cathodic precipitates. Cathodic precipitates basically inhibit or interfere with the reaction between the anode and the cathode. So as we've talked about previously, with regards to the anode and cathode sites, our electrons are going to be flowing from the negative anode to the positive cathode. Well, a cathodic precipitate is basically going to be deposited into those cathodic areas. Now, cathodic precipitators aren't that effective as compared to anodic inhibitors, and that's just because they have to be covered over a much larger area as opposed to a anodic site, and that can be quite a problem. The benefit of using them, however, is they're much safer to handle with regards to the chemicals, and they precipitate onto the surface, not film the surface. So it's more of a separating solution idea. Classic examples of cathodic precipitates are bicarbonates, polyphosphates, or probably a more common one would be a zinc coating. That would be a cathodic precipitate. Now the next one here is neutralisation, and this one I know you're familiar with because we can see neutralising amines, and these amines are simply going to raise the pH of our condensate, and this is going to prevent acid attack from carbonic acid in the condensate system. So a neutralising amine, for example, simply raises the pH, typically between 8 and 9, and that's then going to stop our acid attack, causing a low pH. If we're not using neutralising amines, another classic example used in high pressure boilers or extremely high pressure boilers is typically ammonia. And ammonia is a good chemical for use, and you find that being used in the big high pressure steam generators around that 17 MPa mark. Okay, in terms of applying the inhibitors, the inhibitors are either going to be continuously fed or batch fed, depending upon the application process and the chemical that's being used. Either way it's being done, consistency is the key in both application and injection rate, as this is what's going to minimize corrosion to an absolute minimum. And just be aware, when steaming rates are increased, you would also have to increase corrosion inhibitor rates. So for example, if we are steaming more, we would need to increase our amine injection rates, because the more steam, the more corrosion there would be, so therefore we would need to inject more chemical. And that's something that not a lot of people realise, especially younger operators. When the boilers are increased in steaming, they don't go then ahead and proactively increase the amine injection rates. So something to bear in mind there. Okay, so that's basically it there for Objective 5. Pretty straightforward objective to take a look at. I wouldn't get too mixed up in the chemical equations that are displayed in this objective. This is more of an overall appreciation of these types of things and what can be used. So give it a quick review, and then when you're ready, let's come back and check out Objective 5, where we'll get into cathodic protection systems. So take care.